folks. My name is Amy France. I'm the Director of Admissions at Gordon College, and we want to welcome you tonight to Real Talk, Navigating the Financial Aid Process. I'm joined by my colleague, Dan O'Connell, the Director of Student Financial Services here at Gordon College, and we're going to talk through a number of different topics and questions that folks have submitted to us. But I think we want to start first by really walking through in kind of a chronological order what families may have experienced thus far and what they will be experiencing in the rest of their son or daughter's senior year as they seek to understand what type of financial aid packages Gordon can put together, and hopefully what ends up allowing them to make a final decision in hopefully attending Gordon College for this coming fall. So I want to start by allowing Dan to kind of talk through some of those first initial pieces of financial information folks may get, which may start with an acceptance package.
Yeah, so I believe that many students have received their accepted package, and if they were eligible for a academic scholarship, they probably would have received that with their accepted package. So that is obviously the first part of the financial aid process, is receiving your academic scholarship, notified on acceptance. But then next people will go, okay, what more is there? And that's where we get into need-based financial aid. So need-based financial aid all begins with the FAFSA. That is kind of the doorway to applying for all types of need-based financial aid, which would include Gordon's need-based financial aid. Gordon does have a Gordon grant, which is based on financial need. So that would be applying for that type of grant. That would also be applying for federal grants, state grants, if they're eligible. It's also applying for federal loans and all sorts of need-based types of aid. So that's kind of the next step of what to do, is to apply for the FAFSA.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about some of those different things specifically. You mentioned the academic scholarships that they may receive. So let's maybe start with that first. If families maybe that are joining us tonight maybe have gotten accepted, maybe others have not gotten to that stage yet, where could they maybe even find the list of the different scholarships, what those amounts are, things like that? Maybe you could talk about that part of the website.
Yeah, so we have a list of all the scholarships that are available at this website, www.gordon.edu/scholarships. And if you forget anything else with this webinar tonight, remember that website. Go there. It'll give you a list of all our academic scholarships that are available. It's also going to show you what our performance scholarships are. We have a music scholarship for those who are looking to major in music or play an instrument. We have scholarships for those who are looking to major in art, those who are looking to theater. So it kind of will give you information on that. We also have a scholarship for those who are dependents of full-time missionaries and ministers. We have scholarships for those who have participated in Young Life. And we have just lots of other scholarship information there that I just encourage you to visit and look around there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of the benefits of looking at some of those, you mentioned music, art, theater scholarships, those are actually stackable with our other merit-based scholarships that are academic in nature. And that's pretty unique to be able to stack those type of awards together, right?
Yeah. So definitely encouraged to do that, and that would be, you would receive obviously your academic scholarship, and for some of those performance, one would go on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we do offer scholarship for National Merit Finalists, but we also offer scholarship for National Merit Commended, which is a bit unique. Not that we're the only school that does that, but that is a little bit more rare to find a school that does offer a specific scholarship for National Merit Commended students. So you would want to make sure that the admissions office, Student Financial Services, are aware of that type of commendation, so we can award in that way for that type of student. Yeah. So let's go back to what you were talking about with the FAFSA and the types of aid that folks can see on that, from Gordon Grant to the different types of loans, things of that nature. I know there's kind of 3 different categories that we talk about kind of internally. Can you break that out, and then we can talk about each of those?
Yeah. Well, I guess the first category is called gift aid, which is really grants or scholarships, which is basically free money, right? You don't have to pay it back. It's basically going towards your educational costs, and there's no obviously obligations to work for that or to pay that back. So the free money, the scholarships, so that's the gift aid, and as we said, you're going to receive that in some of the scholarships that you get on acceptance, and obviously through these other types of merit-based aid, through performance or other leadership scholarships we may have. But then we have that need-based aid, which I also told you as well, grants for that as well. The other category is obviously loans, right? And there's types of federal loans. When you do the FAFSA, you're actually also applying for federal student loans. And so that when you do the FAFSA and you get an award letter from us, you're going to see those federal loans that your student is eligible for right on there. So those are applying for that. There's also a federal parent loan, which the first step to doing that is to do the FAFSA. So by doing the FAFSA, you're also taking at least the first step to applying for the parent loan, federal parent loan. So that's kind of applying for that. Also, there's private loans and other types of loans that are that you're eligible for, and so those are also things that are eligible. And the third category is jobs. You'll see federal work study. You'll see on your financial aid award letter. Now, what this is the government is basically is saying that we're going to subsidize your students' wages on campus. So it's encouraging these students to work on campus, and the government is going to actually subsidize what they get paid on campus. But one thing to keep in mind with that is that they do have to actually get a job and work to receive that. It's going to come to them in a paycheck like they would get in a normal job. And that money they get in federal work study is not a cap. You may see $1,700 in work study. That doesn't mean that that's all they can make on campus. They can make more than that money. So that's something just to keep in mind with that. And if you do not get federal work study, believe me, we have so many jobs on campus. I mean, I think we have over 1,100 or 1,200 students who have worked on campus last year. That's just on campus. We also have a job board where people from the outside of the community want to hire our students because of their character and because of what a great job they do. And so there's just all these job opportunities that we have this website to help plug in students there. So our students are really sought after. So we have, if your student wants a job, they'll find a job. So just want to encourage you with that piece as well. But those are kind of the 3 categories. We have that gift aid, which is your grants and scholarships, loans, and work study or employment opportunities.
Okay, so some folks may then ask, where do I find additional monies? Now, a lot of folks may have started the process and looking online at different resources. Are there places that you would suggest that they look? And how did you bring that money with you? How did they communicate that to your office, and what happens with that?
Yeah. Well, we definitely want to encourage families to seek outside private scholarships. And on that scholarships website, we put at the bottom of that a bunch of search engines to help families navigate basically where they can go to search and help them search through private scholarships. We also try to update that as much as possible. We have someone researching different opportunities. So we want to encourage families to pursue that and go there as a resource. Gordon, some colleges have this policy. We don't. We don't restrict any outside money. We're not going to reduce your financial aid package if you bring in large amounts of money from private scholarships or private funding. Obviously, there's government restrictions, which means you can't make money to go to school, that you can't make more scholarships than it costs to come to Gordon. So that's the only thing that would have us to kind of scale back on something. But we have no internal policies, bring in all the outside money you can. We want to encourage that as well. Another thing is that we, because we understand that, faith is important, and we realize that people are coming from churches, we want to honor, strengthen that relationship between student and church and Gordon. And so we have our church matching program. And so basically, if your church is willing to give your student a scholarship up to $1,000, we will match that up to $1,000. So just want to encourage you to maybe talk to your church and see if they'd be willing to, give a gift to your student. So that's something also you'll find on that website as well. But we want to encourage that type of relationship as well.
That's great. Now, as you and I both know, and many folks who have other students, children in their family that have gone to college, there are some additional kind of traditional college expenses that go along outside of maybe the financial aid award. Can you talk about a few of those and really what Gordon tries to do to help fray those costs?
Well, I think some of the expenses that usually go with going to college is obviously books, right? So books is probably an expense to keep in mind, and we usually talk about maybe about $800 a year for that. So that's one expense that maybe doesn't show up regularly. But I think what Gordon has tried to do is provide the services that typically are being spent. Like laundry is free in the dorms, so they'll be able to wash their clothes as much as they want.
They don't have to collect quarters and
they don't have to collect quarters. And when I was in college, I had to go get quarters and fill them in. But laundry is free. We also have a shuttle that would take students to different locations to get things done or errands done. So your student doesn't need a car. We have a small fee if they want to have a car. I think it's like under $200 to have a car on campus, but we try to provide those type of services there. So those are just some ways that we try to provide services to minimize those costs to families.
Yeah, no, that's great. Would you mind talking a little bit about the dining service program too, and how that kind of works into being a bit flexible, which might be a unique system compared to other schools?
Yeah, I mean, we do kind of have an a la carte system where, that a student is given a certain amount of points, and those points can be spent in a dining hall. So it's not like all you can eat. You pay this large amount to kind of encompass paying for everybody. So each student gets an allotment of points, and they can spend that. If they're not a large eater, they can usually just get small amounts of foods. We have, so we don't charge a huge amount for the meal plan compared to other colleges because we're not trying to feed everybody on the same thing. So we have those meal points. We also have points to one another. We have a system where those meal points could be sold if they feel they're not going to use all of them. And I think Gordon has tried to also provide different opportunities to use their meal points in other ways. Different programs where they can use their meal points if they're not going to spend them in your traditional eating food ways. We also have our meal points roll over from the fall semester to the spring semester. And so I think that's one way we're trying to, as a college, be good stewards of our meal plan system.
Yeah, awesome. I'd love to kind of dive into, the questions that many families will have and how we and our office and our staffs can be a resource to them. I'd love to start by saying, when you've received your financial aid award in the mail, actually our counselors will be following up with you, parents as well as students, to really talk through that award point by point and really allow that to be a first step in terms of a conversation to really give a lot of light to what each thing is on that award and give a good bit of detail. So that's one piece that the admissions staff will be following up with your families to be able to be a good resource. So you can anticipate that phone call and look forward to that when you do receive that award. And so if you want to talk about how your staff is a resource for folks too, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think, talking about, what kind of expectations now our family's going to have. I mean, obviously you've been getting emails from us about doing the FAFSA and completing the FAFSA. We want to encourage you to do that. And so I think something to expect from us is that, we start, basically awarding financial aid about usually mid-February. This or a question came up where, that when will you be able to tell that you've received my FAFSA? Well, because the government is still, figuring things out on the FAFSA, are not even able to import FAFSAs into our system until the beginning of February. So the beginning of February, we'll start awarding financial aid and be sending out those letters in February. And so you should probably start, if you've done your FAFSA then, we probably would hear something by the end of February. And then, as you said, we're going to have the admissions counselor follow up with a phone call and check in on that. And then, our office is always available. I think the one thing I love about Gordon is that they've provided the resources to staff a financial aid office to answer your questions, to be there. So, just feel free to call us. My staff is, basically they're, really friendly. They love working with people. They understand that families are going through this kind of agonizing process, with their kids and how to afford college. So, two of my staff actually have kids in college right now, so they're very sympathetic to that. So, so I just want to encourage you to engage us on that. I also want to encourage you, if you were to visit on campus, I really do encourage you to visit. Please make an appointment with a financial aid counselor. We would love to sit down with you, especially if you've done your FAFSA and we've gotten you your award letter. We'd love to sit down with you and explain that in more detail. Maybe talk through some of your other options that are available. Maybe encourage you hopefully point you in some directions to help you making Gordon affordable. So I just want to encourage you to engage our office if you have any questions, and just know that we're here, and we just look forward to working with you as a family.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just kind of piggyback on what you said in terms of the visit. So the visit piece, actually, our office will set everything up for you if you're looking to schedule your second or third visit or your very first visit at Gordon. You could register right online at www.gordon.edu/visit. Or you could also look in your email or ask your student to look in their email, because they're getting visit invitations all of the time. So whether it's an accepted student day, if you've been invited for a specific day to campus, if you come for what we call an individual visit day, so that's more of a traditional Monday through Friday visit, we can organize your traditional opportunities like a tour and eating in our student center, meeting with your admissions counselor, but we can set up your appointment to meet with student financial services as well. And that's on any type of visit day that we'd be happy to put that together for you, because we'd love for you to be able to meet with their staff and to get to know them. We work very closely with student financial services. So oftentimes what we have learned about your son or daughters at this point is being transferred and communicated right to the Student Financial Services office as well. So there's a lot of sharing and communication going back and forth between the two offices, which is great. I know we're starting to get a few different questions and texts of things that we haven't quite gone over yet. So one, I'm going to speak about the music scholarships specifically. It says just how much does a typical music scholarship look like for a student, and is it renewable? And maybe you could apply that to theater and art too.
Yeah. So I would say that for music, it's hard to get estimated. So let's say maybe on average it's $3,000. I'm just saying that's an average. Obviously there's more and there's less, but I would just say if we're going to talk about averages, that would be maybe a good average. I think the renewableness of the scholarship is your participation in that program. Obviously, if you're an art major, then continuing as an art major would be a part of that. Or usually, if you're giving it as a theater major, or it's something based on performances and plays, whatever that agreement is made with the department, that's where they would continue that scholarship.
Awesome. One of the next questions is about our travel scholarship, or what some folks may say is our visit scholarship. Would you mind talking a little bit about that and how that works?
Yeah, obviously, if you have visited from campus from a certain distance, obviously I think it's 250 miles and higher. We're trying to recognize that there's obviously cost for that we want to kind of reward. You're making the effort to come visit us, so obviously if you come here, we want to honor that. So if you're 250 miles to about almost, was it
$9.99.
$9.99. It's like $500, and then obviously over that we give you $1,000. So we just want to recognize that families are making a sacrifice to come out here and find out if this is where their daughter is going to be a good fit, and we want to kind of recognize that.
Yeah, and so that is applied if they decide to enroll here at the college. So that's not awarded to them in any way, unless they do decide to choose to come to Gordon for this fall. But we really encourage folks to kind of take that look at what Gordon looks like and utilize that as a good opportunity to come out and see what campus looks like. Yeah.
And you'll see that on your financial aid award letter.
Yeah. Is it going to be, do they have to fill anything out for that travel scholarship? What do they have to do?
No, I think the visit team lets us know that they've visited and this is how far they live, and we will just apply it to their award letter.
Yeah, it's basically an internal process that we're going to be pulling the data of who visited in their senior year, and then we'll just apply it to those folks. So awesome, very good. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes just about some of the upcoming visit days specifically, just in case folks maybe haven't seen the emails that have gone out or been to that part of our website recently. But for students that are accepted, there are 2 accepted student days that are coming up in a couple of months that are in front of us, and I'm really excited about both of them. So the first one is Monday, February 15th, which locally for us is part of the February vacation week for public schools in Massachusetts. We're really excited about this day because it's actually a part of what we call Deep Faith Week. And so they're going to get to hear one of those key speakers in chapel on that day and get kind of a piece of what Deep Faith Week looks like here at the college. Lots of other opportunities too, just to see campus, meet other accepted students, meet current students, get to hear from some other leaders on campus as well in terms of what different programs are available to them. But then there's one in March as well. So there's one on Friday, March 18th, a day that will be somewhat similar. But one of the main things that is distinctive of that day is there's a really great concert that night that our Campus Events Council are putting on. We're giving tickets to all the students that come for that day, which will be great. And the band All Sons and Daughters will be on campus with us that night. So we're pretty pumped for that day as well. So both of them are awesome opportunities to sign up, and people again can sign up right online to be able to do that as well. So those are 2 of the pretty neat and exciting days for folks to be thinking about. But again, Monday through Friday, if students are available to come see us in schools in session, we would love to have folks visit on those days too. One of the next questions that I have too is, do you have to be a music major to qualify for a music scholarship? And then same with theater and art.
Yeah, I know that there may be scholarships. I'm pretty sure the scholarship, if you're going to perform in an orchestra, you may not be a major, but there's some sort of participation in the music department at some level, where it's some level of participation in a choir or something like that. So I would encourage you to contact them, admissions, who can connect you with the music department, and they would love to hear what gifts you're bringing to that department.
Awesome. I do have one question about one kind of scholarship opportunity that we haven't spoken of much, and that's a part of our AJ Scholars program and the financial benefit that is extended to those that do qualify for that program. So this is a program that students thus far have received a good bit of email information. These are for top tier students, top academic students that we offer students to go through, in some ways, an application process, a consideration process to apply and be a part of this cohort. So each year there is an AJ Scholars cohort at the college. It typically is a group of students that range from about 25, depending on the strength of the students and the pool that we're looking at. This year, we did allow students in that top academic students to submit a series of responses to some questions that we've had. The committee has been reviewing those. In addition to reviewing those, of all the responses we get, those students will then also have a phone interview conversation for the consideration. So we're in the process in terms of the committee overall of doing that. So some students have done their interviews, some have not. We're right in the midst of that. Typically about, I would say about 50 to 60 students are given an offer to be a part of the cohort. And then it does end up being about 16 to 25 students that will choose to come to Gordon and be a part of that. If they do accept that offer, that is an additional $2,500 that is, again, stacked, correct, on their scholarship. So we're really excited to see how that group shapes up. Truly, we are right in the midst of the consideration process. Many students that were really excited to be a part of the process. It looks like we are having a few connectivity issues, and so we do apologize for that. If folks are kind of just joining us or if something happened, we do want to let folks know that this is being recorded. So we will be sending out a link so folks can view this again or have another opportunity to do that. So we certainly apologize if folks are experiencing some difficulties. That is on our end and not your personal connection. But hopefully that will come through a little bit better. Dan, other pieces of advice at all that you might have for folks as they're navigating through this tricky time of year in terms of the decision making?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would just, I think, listen, people come to this. Many of you, it's your probably first time doing this, and obviously you probably have a lot of questions, and we probably, even though I can answer some general questions now, you may have some even more specific questions, right? And so I would just encourage you to contact us and just talk to our staff to kind of get a sense of what your specific questions are, that we can maybe help your specific stuff. So I just would encourage you that obviously you're not alone in this. Many parents go through this, and some parents don't know where to get answers. We just encourage you to be a resource to help you navigate through this process. So I want to encourage you in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of just like kind of key wrap-up pieces for us would be to, one, fill out the FAFSA if you haven't done that yet.
Yeah, well, I think the one question I think we wanted to address is that I know that some of you may have not filled your taxes out. If you're like me, I haven't filled my taxes out, and don't let that stop you from completing the FAFSA. Please, I encourage you to do the FAFSA. Do it on your estimated taxes. Give us the best numbers you think. You can always go back and make changes. Any changes to the FAFSA we receive, and we send an updated award letter. But getting that initial FAFSA in starts the conversation going, gets you doing, and then you can make changes and you'll get an updated letter. So I want to just encourage you to do the FAFSA, even though you may have not done your taxes yet. So that's sometimes something that would hold some families up. But I encourage you to do that. So I just want to encourage that.
Yeah. And now what about too if folks are on the fence in terms of I'm not sure if I'm going to qualify for enough or not? Should I still fill out the FAFSA? How would you point them in that direction?
Well, I would say that, I would encourage all families to do the FAFSA because you never know. And if I were to sit here and explain to you the federal formula that goes into it, it would put you to sleep and, put your mind in knots. So it's not just, I think I make too much money, because they're factoring in your age, because they protect some of your income because of how old you are. They take how many dependents you have, how many are in college, and they look at multiple factors. So for me to say I have too much money, therefore I'm not going to get anything, is probably not an initial right. Go through the process, at least for the first year, get a sense of what it's about. And so I just want to encourage families to do that, just to not let that stop them.
Good. No, that's really helpful. So definitely filling out that FAFSA is kind of the main key component. If your child's been accepted, to take that step. This is a good time to do that, and then we'll really be able to turn out a financial aid award for them in that mid-February timeframe, and they know what the talking points really are at that point, and we're ready to give good counsel both in the admissions office as well as student financial services in terms of what's actually on that award letter. And really the main two things that I see on my side of admissions that I really want families to have received or to have experienced in order to make the most informed decision that they can about where their son or daughter is going to be going to college is both the award itself and then the visit experience. So to have had those two things, I think are key in helping your son or daughter decide where they're going to be going. Excellent. Let me just see if we have any other questions that have come in at all. It does look like a lot of our questions have been reached, and again, we apologize for the connectivity issues, and any questions, concerns that you have, our two offices, our email addresses, just in case in admissions, we're at admissions@gordon.edu, and student financial services is sfs@gordon.edu. So you're welcome to reach us and to reach our colleagues in our offices that way. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks for joining us. Look forward to working with you and your families.